It turns out that nihilism can lead to self-deletion, and in fact, the deletion of many others in a very sad situation in Minnesota. Let's get into it.
That he's related to the trans community. Many people have issues with the trans community, given that he changed his name at 17, which suggests that he was in touch with the ideology by at least his mid-teens.
My name is Casey, and I've been a therapist for 13 years, and I have seen my industry move into this ideology of affirming people that may, in fact, need either commitment, involuntary commitment, or, in fact, need strict monitoring in order to prevent these types of incidences. But it may, in fact, be the case that anti-Christian crimes are coming to the foreground, and we need to contain this now. But guess what? The Bible said that we have always expected persecution and we will always receive persecution for our beliefs. So we shouldn't be surprised, but we can mourn and we can try our best to harden the targets so that this type of thing doesn't have to happen again.
Who got a name change. Doesn't appear that he'd taken any hormones. There are photos available of him where it looks like the most that he did was put his hair in pigtails, strangely enough.
I will not name the name of the assailant in this case, but of course in Minneapolis, Minnesota, there has been a mass pew incident at a church that also was a school, and my children go to private school. They go to one of these schools that has faith-based services during certain parts and in different parts, and many of them do operate from church complexes. And these targets must be hardened right away. If I walk into my child's school, there are 2 armed men who are as big as somebody that would be on a SWAT team, and you wouldn't want them coming to your house. And that is, in fact, exactly the way I would have it for every school that operates within the United States. It's clearly evident that the angst and the nihilism and the mental illness has come to the foreground in the lives of many of these people that suffer from mental illness as children, and they take it back out on their schools. And we as a society have in fact provided some of the incentive structures that continue to promote this by making them famous and giving them the manifesto opportunity among society and among even their peers that they've conferred with online ahead of time, in many cases on Reddit or other dark corners of the internet where these types of things, behaviors are affirmed, feelings are affirmed. We must revert back away from just affirming every mental illness and saying that that's something worthy of running with. Reading from the Daily Wire, it says, "I only keep my hair long because it pretty much is my last shred of being TRANS, and I am tired of this. I wish I was never brainwashed myself," this person wrote. "I can't cut my hair now as it would be an embarrassing defeat, and it might be a concerning change of character that could get me reported." I'm not sure who would be reporting. "It always just gets in my way. I probably will chop it off the day that I do this." In another section of the journal, they wrote, "I don't want to dress girly all the time, but I sometimes guess I like it. I know I'm not a woman, but I definitely don't feel like a man." They changed their name to a female name and says that they identify that way to reflect that identification. At that time, this individual was still 17 years old. It turns out that the individual who carried out this attack was, in fact, a student at that school, and his mother had worked at that school. And we should not attempt to politicize this, but we need to be able to talk about the topics that are going to engage us more successfully in the protection of our children. A society's value can be directly correlated to how they treat their children because they are the hope of the future. And if we refuse to harden those targets, if we refuse to place the appropriate safeguards and security in place in these schools, then we are just demonstrating that we truthfully don't value them and their innocence as much as we should, because we can harden every government building that is out there, including one of the ugliest ones in Montgomery County, ranked 12th ugliest in the country. You can't walk into that building and do what this individual did without running into other good guys with pew-pews, which are in fact the only way that these things end unless it's a case of self-deletion. So it is important that we invest, put our money where our children are, not where our mouth is, where our children are, because I would take the guards out of every IRS, every county building, every commissioner building, every government building, and place them in schools if I had to, and I will pay the taxes for that because I already freaking do. I don't need to pay double for the protection of these government agencies when they refuse to provide for the protection of our children. And even though this was a private school, they may have had private security. This is our top priority. Fathers, it's up to us to pray and mourn with the victims. And yes, it's not lost on me that this was another target of a faith-based institution, because when you tell a certain part of the population that Christians are here to stifle their rights, that they're here to take them away from everything that they find meaning and value in, when you demonize Christianity, quite ironically, and put them in the position of being the aggressors in the public sector and in the public societal Overton window, then you will continue to get the incentive structures set up for Christians to be targeted for these types of attacks. And you would not want to make these very peaceable, loving people respond in ways like having to go to a school where this great tragedy has happened and wonder whether their child will be all right or not. I would not attempt to use this, as some Minnesota legislators already have, as a platform to talk about pew-pew controls or Second Amendment rights or any of those types of politicized ways. And yes, prayers do matter. Thoughts and prayers do matter. Prayers more than thoughts, because my thoughts are usually not that healthy to be helpful for anyone. But prayers do matter. And the God who created that very man who did this horrible thing yesterday is also going to be the one that he meets and probably has already met today, and to be the one to hold him accountable for these actions. I believe that matters. And when we reach out to that God, he does allow for great suffering in this world. When my wife and I lost our son, it's one of those record scratch moments that we don't understand and we can't quantify why a loving God would do this. But the answer has been redemption, 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 every step of the way for our family personally. And it wasn't a tragic event like this, but God does allow great suffering. It's up to us to not be unwise about how we engage, because while he might allow it, he didn't foreordain this. He didn't want this. And so we can take preventative measures. It is within our hands to prevent these things. Open up mental institutions that are for long-term care again. Stop affirming and incentivizing the marginal behaviors of the mentally ill and bringing them into the middle. They aren't in the middle for a reason. Continue to place them on the margins. As a mental health therapist, I've seen this for years. We should not be affirming every mental health disorder as something that needs, to be uplifted and pedestalized in society. And then harden the targets. Take all of those monies that was spent on those 87,000 IRS agents, train actually competent people and place them in the schools, and allow the good guys who are dangerous to stop the bad guys that are dangerous. This is a high calling for the men who are bearing children now in our society. We must protect them, and I will not go quietly into the night, having avoided the uncomfortable conversations that come about when these things happen. If this channel for the protection of children is a high priority in anything that we can do together, I would love it if you partner with me. Please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you.